For this video, we're going to take a look at basic bagua training on a heavy bag. All of the strikes that you do in the bagua system, you can transfer onto a heavy bag. A lot of these strikes generate a lot of power, so you need to condition your body for when you're going to use them in a self-defense situation or in a sparring environment. So the first one we're going to look at is just the straight palm. Just to take the basic concepts from boxing, we want to have a lead hand, we want to have a backhand. So the first lead hand is going to be a straight palm. You want to learn to generate the power from a very short range. In most bagua forms, we have one hand leading the other. This is no difference to having a regular boxing stance, though the regular boxing stance provides us a little bit more cover, especially in a self-defense situation, because we need to keep our head guarded. So the hands are going to be up by the face rather than out in front of the body, and we're going to just generate the power from that front palm without too much of a wind-up. You're keeping your hands fairly neutral, relaxed. You're going to just strike out and you're going to hit that bag. So as you're striking, you don't want to push all the way through the bag and move it a lot, because again, when you're striking an opponent, you might not want to move them too much because you might have a better strike to follow up. So to start off with, we're just going to strike into our bag, get that connection on the palm, also build the conditioning in the wrist, and also just start to think about your striking patterns off that front hand. So the first one is just going to be a flat palm straight. You can also twist the palm slightly, and you can strike in the slight angle on the hand. So from here, nice and easy. And you want to keep the weight predominantly in the center of your balance. The second palm strike is going to come from the back. So if your hand is out trying to keep your opponent away, you can generate a lot more power from that back leg because you can transfer the weight forwards, very much like they do in a boxing cross. The hands are forwards, you're still guarding your head, and then you're going to strike straight forwards, transferring that power onto the front leg. Okay, the second set of strikes we're going to look at is going to be these glancing chops. Now, in bagua, we use them a lot as we change position, especially on the inside and the outside changes. Obviously, done a lot more traditionally, but we can still use them from this guard position. So when you're striking the heavy bag, you want to be making glancing strikes across the side of it to try to deliver the power without having to commit too much weight forwards. You're going to strike, and the hand is going to just graze on the outside, and it's going to act almost like a wedge. As you push the hand forwards, the power's striking, but it's also moving across the object. So you'll find that with the bag, you get a slight twist. Every time when we're using our lead hand, we don't want to commit the weight forwards, because then we can't generate quite as much power as we do with the back, and we also then have a follow-up strike ready to go. So okay, so the same thing we can throw from the backhand, do it exactly the same way. So as we strike, you're looking to glance off the side of the bag and also strike. Using the power, we can transfer the weight forward onto that front leg. For the third set of strikes, we're going to use the footwork to load the power, and then we can strike into the bag. It's not very often in a self-defense situation that you'll be able to spin around and strike with that much movement. It's going to be very tight and compact. We're going to be in our basic kind of boxing guard. As the front foot comes across the body, it loads the waist sideways, so that rounded movement from the front arm is going to generate a lot more power as it strikes into the bag. This is going to help us to generate the power and also to keep the footwork moving, and then we can follow up with other shots as we go in. When we switch to the rear hand, it's going to be the same thing, but we're going to widen the stance. So as we widen the stance, we twist the waist more. And this allows the body more room to generate that power for the strike. It's always a good thing to practice the traditional setup of your techniques. And this just helps you to understand the power and the structure a little better. So you can even practice as you're walking around the bag in a very traditional bagua position. As you step, you can strike into the bag. So you can practice your inside change and really kind of develop the power in those strikes. Again, with the bag, you can use the palm or you can use the chop. So as you switch, you're just turning on your heels, and then that backhand, and you can get those strikes in. Your option, as you're switching, bring the hand out slightly wider, and you're going to cut back in with the ridge of the arm. And that's going to replicate your inside change. Obviously, having to be able to put power behind it is going to help you to understand the technique that much better. We have our outside changes as well. You're going to be able to generate much more power with the outside change because the movement's that much bigger. It's very unlikely you're going to be able to use the full power of the outside change in a self-defense situation, but it's always good to condition the body well enough that when you're doing your outside changes, you can actually withstand the amount of force that you're putting into your opponent without damaging yourself.